Alex Kidman here, and today I'm wearing the Shokz OpenSwim Pro headphones. Let's dive right into the review. So in straight design terms, the Shokz OpenSwim Pro aren't that different to most of Shokz's other open-ear headphones. You've got a semi-rigid band at the back connecting to two earpieces with what are essentially speakers that sit just outside the front of your ears, because these are proper bone conduction headphones. They're not just trying to pipe audio in through your ears, but through your internal skull, basically. The Shokz OpenSwim Pro headphones can definitely stand out, however, depending on the colour choice you make. If you're more on the subtle side, they do come in a grey finish, but if you want to stand out in the pool or on the track, there's the red variant, and obviously that's the version that Shokz supplied me for the purposes of a review. At 27.3 grams, the Shokz OpenSwim Pro are relatively light. I was actually surprised to discover that they're actually lighter than the Shokz OpenRun Pro headphones. They certainly don't really feel as though they are, and I suspect that's to do with the rubberized nature of them, the fact that they've got some water-resistant treatment on them, of course. The differences, though, there are subtle, and I'd never really say that either felt terribly weighty on my head. The controls for the Shokz OpenSwim Pro sit on the right earpiece, as you can see, which means they sit just behind your right ear. Pretty simple stuff. Volume up, volume down. Longer press on this to switch it on, even longer press again to put it into Bluetooth pairing mode. Then on the left earpiece, you've got a single button here, and that's used for things like play, pause, as well as switching between MP3 or Bluetooth modes and vocal or standard audio modes. One design feature I did not love with the Shokz OpenSwim Pro is the charging point, the charging cable point, which is just here, magnetically attaches to a custom cable supplied in the box. And look, I get why a water-resistant pair of swimming headphones might not opt for a more standard USB-C connection, but it's still an absolute pain if you misplace the charging cable because it's so particular just to this set of headphones, which is my way of saying, yeah, look, I actually did misplace the charging cable for the Shokz OpenSwim Pro during the period of this review. And look, it's part of the reason why it's actually taken me a little while longer to test them out than I'd originally planned, because I couldn't actually use them once they were flat until I actually found it. Shokz does provide this simple little rubberized bag for the cable to go into. Very, very good idea if you want to avoid the problems I've had to keep it securely stored in there and just hope it stays in there. At the same time, I do kind of wish they could have worked out a water-resistant way of using a more standardized cable just because it'd be nicer in the long run. So before I start talking about performance, a quick admission to make here. I haven't yet gone swimming with the Shokz OpenSwim Pro headphones. And look, that's mostly because I don't have a pool. Also because here in Australia, it's winter right now, not exactly ideal swimming weather, and it's just too cold. And look, I'll be honest, I don't actually personally swim all that much anyway. As you might be able to tell, actually, if you've watched my video of testing the GoPro out on the Great Barrier Reef, I'm an okay swimmer. I don't drown, but it's not something that I do as a personal leisure activity. But I did put these through their paces in a kind of simulated pool environment just to make sure that they could survive underwater. And yeah, look, they passed that without too many problems at all. A quick note here, though, on water resistance, because a lot of people tend to equate water resistance with being waterproof, and that's not what these are. They are water resistant, so they will resist water. They will resist pool water. They will resist seawater to a point, and that point is the point at which they fail. Everything that has water resistance does that. Shokz has told me that their 2-year warranty on these is good for water ingress. You don't actually get that with every single IP-rated water-resistant product. In fact, a lot of devices, smartphones especially, while they have IP ratings, while they are water-resistant, if water gets into them, you're stuffed as far as the warranty goes. You're not with these, and that's kind of pleasing to see. So prior Shokz swim-suitable headphones got past the issues around Bluetooth connectivity by being, in effect, Shokz-shaped MP3 players. That's very hard to say 3 times in a row. Try it. But those kinds of players without Bluetooth compatibility. They were basically just MP3 players. They did quite well. People quite liked them. The Shokz OpenSwim Pro's big selling point is that they're both Bluetooth and MP3 capable for direct playback. And that's toggled with a long press of the button on the left-hand earpiece. Now, streaming audio over Bluetooth naturally works with just about any audio source on a paired smartphone or other device. It's Bluetooth, it'll pair to just about everything. But then there's the question of MP3 playback and the challenge, really. And look, it's certainly not a bad feature to have. You've got 32 gig of onboard storage for dropping files onto it. It's FAT32, so it'll connect through to a PC, it'll connect through to a Mac, should connect through to a Linux system. It's the only one I've not tested. All should be quite nice and workable. But there's a bigger modern challenge here, I feel. And that modern challenge is the question of whether or not you've actually got any digital music files that you personally store anymore. Now, I'm old, I do. But lots and lots of people use services like Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube Music or Tidal purely to stream music, and these won't do that because those services typically, I haven't tested every single one, but typically they're just streaming. They're not download to every single device, and especially not to devices that don't run apps suitable. So I have managed to get, for example, some purchased music, purchased through Apple Music to play back through these. That's not been a problem. But playlists that I have stored on Apple Music, no, there's just no way to transfer them whatsoever. So if you live in a purely streaming music world, the MP3 or the music playback file side of these just won't work for you. If you've ripped your own CDs, legal to do in Australia, as long as you still keep the CDs, then you're golden. You just drop them in there and they play back without too many problems at all. So what about audio quality? Well, it's the same old story, really. And the best way I found to test these was to go for a run. So I'm going to pass over to me just after a run. Okay, so post 5K run with the OpenSwim Pros in. And yeah, look, they're pretty good. They're a little heavier on the head than the OpenSwim Pros were, but you'd kind of expect that. They're built for swimming more than running, but they've done well. They've survived all of my sweat. I may have already mentioned I'm not that much of a swimmer, but when I run, I sweat and they haven't drowned yet. Audio quality reasonable while retaining that whole situational awareness thing that's the reason why you buy these open earphones in the first place, really. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go find a very large glass of water. Thanks, me. And look, like other Shokz headphones, the Shokz OpenSwim Pro can be managed through the Shokz app, though you could really nearly get by without it, given the inbuilt MP3 playback just works natively. Simple Bluetooth pairing is just from the button on this. Really, outside of potential future firmware upgrades, the only things you'd be missing out on is customizing precisely what these buttons do, more or less whether or not you want them to launch an assistant or switch modes, and enabling multi-point pairing so you can pair to two devices at once. Other than that, you don't necessarily need the Shokz app for these. What about battery life? Well, Shokz's claims around the OpenSwim Pro's battery performance at first confused me. Why confused? Well, primarily because while its 9-hour Bluetooth runtime is fair, although it's an hour less than the Open Run Pro headphones are claimed to manage, the MP3 standard playback is only 6 hours, 3 hours less, and that's not what you'd typically think. You'd probably think, well, hang on, streaming Bluetooth music on an ongoing basis has to use more power than an MP3 file that's stored locally on the headphones themselves, right? Well, it's just not so, and Shokz's official statement to me didn't really help much. They basically just said that the MP3 mode in the OpenSwim Pro includes an additional storage module, which results in higher power consumption and therefore shorter battery life. So having flash memory on these headphones means the battery life goes down. Odd to me, but it is the way it is. And look, I've got to say, having tested them fairly extensively once I found that power cable, it pretty much stacks up. I can generally get about 9 hours of Bluetooth playback, about 6 hours of MP3 playback. That's a very long swim or a very long run, depending on your connection methodology. And to be clear, I didn't go for a very long swim or a very long run of those kinds of lengths. That would kill me. But I did use them day to day in office plus running to test them out for the purposes of this review. As I already noted, I'm not a big fan of the charging cable. Yes, it magnetically clips in. That's all well and nice and easy to do, but it is kind of easy to lose. You will also need your own charger for these because there's not one of those in the box. If that matters to you, it's USB-A on the other side, so you've probably got a charger kicking around or a laptop you can hook these to, and the charging up is nice and quick in most cases. So, should you buy the Shokz OpenSwim Pros? Well, look, they're a good inclusion in the Shokz lineup, though you'd really want to be sure that you were going to use the expanded functionality of MP3 playback and the fact that they're water resistant to good use a lot of the time, given the price premium that they command. Here in Australia, they run $299 outright, which is more expensive than any other pair that Shokz sells here right now. And look, given I personally rarely swim, they're not 100% for me. The Open Run Pro would be my choice there. But if you're a swimmer or an open water sports enthusiast, they're really rather well suited to the task. Anyway, that's my take on the Shokz OpenSwim Pro. Got any questions? Anything you'd like to know? Hit me up in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.